Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got Jameson Maxwell and Ty Lee. And fellas, the Sooners might be eliminated from the college football playoff, but portal season has begun. We are in full swing. We're going to talk about a little bit of OU's moves in the transfer portal. And at the end of the podcast, we're going to make our picks for the semifinals between Ole Miss and Miami, and then Indiana and the Oregon Ducks. So, fellas, how are we feeling about the portal? Maybe, I don't want to say a slow start, but now where we're at, where the Sooners are running at full force and Jim Nagy's operation it's clicking pretty good, Jameson.
Yeah, screw college football semis. I just want to talk about portal the whole time, which we will. We'll talk about both. We'll talk about the portal first. But I mean, this is fun. This portal, where there's only one, there's not two this year, it just made this electric. There's I am constantly refreshing my For You page on my Twitter. Now, that can be, I don't like that because there's too many random things that pop up on the For You page because I'm scared I'm going to miss something because there's always some random, different analyst that's got something on the portal that I want to know. But it feels like NBA and NFL free agency on steroids, and I just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I love the portal. It's anything, and this is not just coming from someone that is on a podcast where obviously we want and need things to talk about, although we will talk for an hour regardless. I love it. I love the storylines, and it is just so interesting, like all of the shock ones, and as much as everyone hates it, as much as everyone says they don't like it, I feel like people secretly love getting angry about the tampering, not when it's your team, but getting angry about the tampering or being shocked by the moves or just all the different pieces. It's such a feature of college football. Obviously, there's negatives. Look at Iowa State. Shout out to Cyclone Larry. No one deserves this more than Cyclone Larry. But your team could be gutted.
Ty, do you know what I found out today? There are Larrys all across the Big 12. I found all kinds of Larrys. Yes.
No, just
not just Cyclone Larry. There's
thing.
Horn Frog Larry.
And he's on this podcast every Wednesday. His name is Boat Blake. And there's a Texas Larry, and his name is Chris, and he comes on periodically this podcast as well. But it's I just think it's so fun. I will say it's kind of OU related. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but my favorite portal story so far is the guy who's currently at Oklahoma State, who announced he was taking a visit to Oklahoma State in addition to other schools as he was portaling, which entering the transfer portal and shopping around and potentially going back to where you were is one thing. All of those people announcing oh, so-and-so has re-signed for the next year, that's a little absurd. But announcing that you are taking a visit to a place that you are currently enrolled and have played at for several years is absolute insanity to me. But
hey, I applaud him. Honestly, he's just saying, hey, you guys got to wine and dine me to keep me here. Play the game. Play the game. This is like for people, I'm trying to equate this because not a lot of people have gone through this, but whether fraternity rush, damn right, I'm going to go to every single event that people are going to invite me. I want to be wine and dine. I want to be wanted. And that's what he's probably doing to Oklahoma State.
Good for him. Would you put on a Borat-esque or a Borat-esque mustache or something and re-rush every year?
Just show up straight as Borat. I'm sure I would get a bid.
Just total a lot of places at OU. The old KA would give you a bid for sure.
Oh boy. Well, and what's funny about it too is he's been on campus longer than the staff has. So it's he knows Stillwater probably better than them. I know it's definitely a meeting to, kind of get to know each other as people, but it is just a funny idea of him being I don't know, taking. I like the idea that he just pretends like he doesn't know what everything is. And they're like, oh,
they're taking him hideaway.
What is this Eskimo Joe's I've been hearing about?
You got to get him a t-shirt.
Oh my God. It's honestly, but it's great. And on the people that are staying at their schools have created so much drama too. This whole Jaden Ball with Florida, with all the Texas experts saying the past week or whatever that, oh yeah, we're going to get Florida in the portal. And then all of a sudden, Jaden Ball just announces that he's staying. Texas not looking so hot this portal cycle. I understand they have plenty of ammo to bring things back and change the motto of what everyone's saying right now. But I think it's, as a Sooners fan, we should be pretty darn happy of how things are going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a really, really good start to the portal, I feel like, for OU, or maybe not start, but this haul has been really good. And starting with Texas, I mean, there's no more interesting move that OU's made than the wide receiver Parker Livingstone from Dallas. The third, I believe, WR3 decently, if you look at the numbers for UT.
Oh,
Maybe
you've been
not
listening to the
exactly.
Texas fans, haven't you?
No, I'm just saying, if you look at the stats, if you look at he was second in passing touchdown or receiving touchdowns for the Longhorns behind Ryan Wingo, put up some numbers. I know if you look at who he put the numbers up against, I get it, but he's a young player and a Longhorn lifer until this moment. So pretty crazy that he made that flip to OU. And I gotta say, spite is a very powerful motivator. You would have to say, because this, didn't quite get the NIL he wanted from Texas. The Longhorns obviously have tried very hard to get Cam Coleman in town, so that was obviously quite a big part of it. He's a Sooner, and that's probably one of the bigger developments in the Red River portal saga ever. Because this is, I believe, the second Sooner to transfer across the river.
Thompson, right, Ty?
Yeah.
A former favorite of Ty.
Former dude did just like everything but Oklahoma State. I mean, he played at Texas, played at Nebraska, and then finally came out. The prodigal.
No. Brennan Thompson didn't play at Nebraska. He went to Mississippi State. Casey Thompson you're thinking of.
Yeah, you got your Thompsons mixed up.
Brennan is the fast wide receiver that you said dropped too many passes, and he was like your...
That's, to be fair, that's what I say about at least one wide receiver.
You'll find
Casey Thompson. I did like Casey Thompson. I did not like Brennan Thompson.
Yeah, I think that what it comes down
to...
We're
last name pod.
With this Parker Livingstone thing, like, people really can push out the spite and the anger and going to Oklahoma over Texas, but like probably the biggest factor, and I obviously don't know behind the scenes here, is like we offered $800K and Texas offered $400 to $500K. I mean, that is a lot of money. You go out and get your bag, and that's whenever you look in the mirror and you be like, how much does a couple $100,000 mean to me? And it obviously meant a lot to Parker. And obviously there's multiple levels of this. It's not just hey, he wants an extra $300,000 and that's why he made the decision, but also it could be a respect thing. I think that Oklahoma respects Parker more as a wide receiver, so they would offer him more than Texas would have. And so if he's going to feel more valued here at Oklahoma, he's going to feel like he's going to be a bigger part of this offense. And I think his trajectory could be higher than where he was at Texas.
Absolutely. I would argue that we need him more. I mean, we've talked about this wide receiver room, and there are a bunch of solid guys, but this is something that actually Bobby and I were talking about on Friday evening as we had dinner is I feel like this past year's wide receiver room, we've had, two really solid guys in Burks and Satania, but it's just not necessarily the chemistry, but we just have a sort of an odd makeup up of the room that's not necessarily super complementary. You don't have a super solid like one guy, and there's sort of a weird, I think, defining of the roles where we have two guys that would be really amazing, and this is not to diminish them, but we have two guys that would be really amazing, sort of WR2 style guys in college that are, I don't know, we are in dire need of, I think, more power, more star power, and just different styles of talent in this WR room. Whereas I think Texas, maybe has a deeper room or a more complete room, which is how you get to things like, this, where a guy, like you said, is probably not necessarily just the money, but we, I would like to argue that we're more respectful to people anyways, but that would just be I have no way to back that up. But I think the need is much more there for Oklahoma than it is for Texas, and that can contribute to how respected you feel or anything else. Texas maybe kind of gave him the here's your offer, and kind of ignored him, and maybe we dined him a little bit more, took him up to, Chili's in the Target parking lot, and maybe went by Swig or Sonic or something with him, and got him whatever he wanted to spend, at Sonic. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just overall what Nagy and that group, that front office group, has done has been incredible. This is definitely not one of those like let's find a gem in the rough sort of thing. Because I mean, he's a solid player, and getting him in, pretty young, you're going to have plenty of time with him. This is a situation he didn't expect to hit under the portal, as he said in his outro letter to Texas. A lot of this has to do, you would imagine, with Texas trying to go after Coleman, but overall, great addition of the wide receiver room, which is going to look a lot different. Some other portal outgoings, especially today. Giovanni Gibson out, hit the portal. Ivan Carry-On, didn't see much of him, obviously, in 2025. And then, who am I blanking on? Zion Kearney also hitting the portal.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's a lot of people in there, pretty much that whole class, other than Zion Reagan.
Total reset there. And then, but here's the thing: Livingstone, obviously, the flashy OU Texas tie is very interesting, but to me, I feel like the biggest pickup is a guy from kind of your neck of the woods, Jameson, the UVA transfer.
Yeah, I think just watching tape on Trell Harris makes me really excited. Parker Livingstone's fun. He's the big name. He's from Texas. He's Arch's roommate, all that stuff. But if you just put tape next to tape, I'm like, Trell Harris is fun watch. And we've seen in the past that these ACC big time wide receivers who've put up good stats in the ACC, they've really translated well as they've transferred in to SEC schools, like we saw with Casey Concepcion. Plenty of people have done that the past couple of years. And I think that if you look at it and you say, who in this transfer portal can be that guy hand in hand with Satania next year and be a game breaker, game changer, I take Trell Harris over Livingstone. And he might not be getting paid as much. I think I saw something he's getting paid pretty similar, which good for OU for shelling out. But it's just like that guy is just a playmaker. And that was a problem we had on our offense. We had guys that could go out there and maybe be a play finisher. How many playmakers do we have out there? How many guys could get the ball and go make people miss and get to the end zone? Deion Burks was a play finisher. He did great catches, but he could not go out there and make a guy miss and make a big touchdown. I think Trell Harris honestly could end up being that guy.
Yeah, absolutely dynamic wideout.
Bobby, you are a robotic boss man.
I'm doing my best.
Is that just me, man. Or is that everyone else?
No, Bobby sounds fine to me.
Okay, everyone is robotic for me. I need to mute 1 second.
Well, you sound fine to us, but it's.
Oh, sorry. I just my point on it though. I'll be really quick with it. I think Harris, though, very dynamic. Some of his catches out there just truly unreal. He is one of those guys that could go out and make, some jaw-dropping plays. And I feel like, the best thing Satania did, and I'm not knocking Satania, I think he's excellent. If OU can get him back, that's absolutely massive. But he was almost a burner. You get him the ball, let him cook. But in terms of, you weren't going to see flashy catches, all of that sort of stuff. Trell Harris, I feel like, has that element. Third team all ACC. This guy can really be a riser for sure. Ty?
Yeah, the number one thing that attracts me with Terrell Harris is you get secondhand more wins. And of course, I'm referring to OU great, TCU great, Chandler Moore wins, who was UVA's quarterback last year. So someone who has touched and felt the greatness of the man who should have been our quarterback this year. And we probably would have still been in the playoff if he were coming to our team. Just that little bit of magic still on him will be a tremendous add. But bits aside, this is going to sound like a bit coming from me, but all bits aside, totally serious. Jameson's talking about which one of these potential transfers, integrates with with Satania best. I would argue, both of these guys, and obviously, I think anyone that listens to the podcast in general, I've turned more pro Satania, but might believe that I'm anti Satania. I think all three of those guys are in the portal. Harris and everyone else. Sorry, I have a bit of a cough. Is probably taking. I think Satania goes third in most cases, in most
Brother.
impartial cases. But like you have to look at the record of work this year, like Bobby's talking about. Flashiness and performance, and I would blame a lot of that on Mateer, right? But I think that I don't know. I think
Satania is better than Livingstone. Trell Harris, I mean, you maybe you can talk to me.
well,
But
we'll
I
see.
think
We'll see.
Satania is number one.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your bit coming out on
He
that
knows-
one.
And the
I
fact
know
that
he's
we're
more
even
the
talking
system.
about Satania coming back is kind of insane. I know we're acting like it's a foregone conclusion. He hasn't said anything official yet, but a lot
Which
of
is it's wild that you have to clarify that. It's wild that someone not saying something is like 50-50. They could be leaving, they could be not.
Well, he'd be
Instead-
going pro.
We haven't heard anything from Kip or Satania, and really their draft grades have been back for a while now. If they haven't entered the draft at this point, the writing's on the wall, and all of the insiders are saying it looks really, really good. So it's just probably just semantics and business and trying to figure out a contract.
Well, they're probably still playing it with OU, not necessarily the portal thing, but the what's my package versus what does my agent say for the draft, and obviously Satania was great, was probably hoping for more when it came to stats and everything else this season, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've done this every single year, and I feel like these guys that are tweeners on the draft took a little while to finally announce that they're back and they've agreed. And Danny Stutzman's was a kind of a unique situation because obviously he flip-flopped.
Or even crazier, but like Creed, when that whole thing was going down, when he stayed probably a year longer than he could have or should have. Obviously, he's turned out great in the NFL, but a lot of examples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's pre-NIL though with Creed.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, there are still some things. There's still some stuff going on. But I think in big picture, talking about the wide receiver room, that's the funnest one to talk about because I think that's a flashy position that we're really going to see the most of. But I think the tight end room is really the one that can change the whole mantra of what OU is. We ran so much 12 personnel, so many tight ends on the field last year that were just complete negatives for us, that really just put us in corners for defenses just to expose us. And we're trying our best right now to retool and get guys that can go out there and do that. I don't think I made this comparison right whenever Hansen committed. But for a pro football kind of reference, I think the Hayden Hansen thing, he's going to be a great Will Dissily for the Chargers, but we don't have a Rondé Gadsden. And Rocky Beers, that dude can go out there and get touchdowns and make big plays, but he's not this superstar Brock Bowers, wide receiver tight end combo. We don't have that on this team, but if we have guys that can kind of play on the line and not be a negative, we had no one who could block, zero that could block. That completely strictens your playbook. If we can get guys like Hayden Hansen out there, even if Florida fans are saying he's got rock hands, he was a waste. No, your DJ Lagway just wasn't even throwing him the ball at all and is a quarterback with extremely poor decision making. That's a guy who's going to go out there and make a difference for this team, not from what he's doing. He might make a couple of big time plays at 6'8", but what we can do as an offense, because he's on the field and not a Jaron Kanik who can't block or a Caden Helms who can't block, that's going to be the biggest difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where obviously I don't know if we're getting a Mackey Award winner, a future Mackey Award winner here with Hansen, but I mean, 6'8", great catch radius, and compared to everything we've had and, essentially the Joe John Finley era, which, by the way, 20 minutes in, haven't mentioned that Joe John very, very strongly rumored to have been shown the door in Norman. So obviously total switch in regime there. No idea who the coach will be, but Hansen, he's a step up. He feels like a step up on the surface, and Beers, I would love to see stuff out of him. That jersey, as I've said, going to be an all-time banger.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, we already have a women's basketball player.
Yeah,
Reagan,
that's his sister.
She's a beast.
She's
Dude,
awesome.
Double. I mean, that's good. Somebody has got to NIL bag, some liquor store or Prairie or someone in Oklahoma has to get the two OU athletes named Beers together.
Yeah, apparently the entire family are teetotalers. They no interest in alcohol.
So. They drink milk.
He suggested. Yeah, they asked him about. He's like,
I don't gamble, but when we had a gambling sponsorship, I was all over that. Like, it's
fair enough. But he was.
I throw my morals out for $5. Like, come on.
That's fine.
General Booty didn't even play. He got like 6 figures from some sort of weird underwear that he probably doesn't even wear. So I don't know. It's neither here nor there.
I don't know. I'll think
get the basketball jersey.
If we can do a milk thing around him, that's our angle here. The foot in the door technique, you think you're getting it with the beers, but you open up the door, then you realize it's just a milk ad.
The Oklahoma Milk Council or something. I don't know.
You got to know some people in the milk field, Bobby. You know anyone you could pull some strings in the milk field?
Like maybe you're like Hideaway or someone like beers goes great with pizza is like your ad or something, and then he doesn't have to. You just do like the play on word, like beers goes great with wings. Come to Wingstop or something.
You would hope so, but I sadly doesn't seem like that type of fella. But
maybe
regardless, people are going to buy the jersey, and that's what matters.
Beers go great with. I'm just kidding. That's a terrible joke.
No, it's. I don't even know what that was going to be. So let's just move on.
My imagination is going crazy right now, Bobby.
With a car dealership? What other way could you take?
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so
dogs.
Oh boy. Anyways, tight end room. I'm with you. Very excited for the future of that. Might be some more movement there. What do you think about the moves on the offensive line, Jameson, with Caleb Pitta out of Western Kentucky and Amarian Harris from Arkansas?
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name right. I know another person the same last name pronounces it Nita, so maybe Caleb Nita. Just a depth center. Yeah. We just need that because we don't have that in Troy Everett anymore. And then Amarian Harris is saying that he is coming in to be right tackle, compete for the right tackle spot. That's interesting because we're in this in-between right now. Is Foje going to be a right guard or right tackle? And the great part about Beat 'em Bo is I think everyone's trying so hard right now to put, Foje in this little cubby and Marion Harris in this little cubby of saying like, oh, that's the right guard and the right tackle. That's not how we do things here with Beat 'em Bo. He wants people that can play multiple positions, and you go out there and then he'll eventually find his 5 best guys. Those 5 best guys might not even be there by like game 5 or game 6. That's really where you see Beat 'em Bo cook, because all these guys know how to play different positions. Then eventually we find, hey, screw it. Let's put Foje over at right tackle because I think he's one of our 5 better guys.
Yeah, I agree. That versatility is beyond key. And, it was one of the things that kind of helped OU a little bit towards the end, where, you have to put, you have to make a change at center and, put Nwewu, at center, and things aren't a catastrophe. They weren't great, I don't believe, but, I don't think it was exactly a disaster like it could have been for some other lines.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for what we thought in the preseason, like we're going to go over, I'm sure, our preseason stuff soon. I mean, we thought it could be an absolute disaster. And I think that there's a lot of optimism coming out of the offensive line going into the end of the season.
Absolutely. It was very workable. It was very, very workable. And, like you said, from those expectations to where they ended up, it was a really, really good start, especially with how much you got out of the freshmen. Yeah, they weren't perfect. There were a lot of issues. There were some silly things with Fasusi and et cetera, but yeah, I don't think that's something that's, really the end of the world.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away from this that I think is really important for the listeners and the viewers is when we get into the off season, and especially right now, right, we're hearing a lot of things about Joe John, hearing a lot of things about DeMarco Murray, Coach Beatonbaugh, right? A lot of people have posed kind of some of the same questions around, his career, his future at OU. Things like this, landing big dudes, pun intended, every meaning intended there, but landing big dudes like this in the portal just continues to speak to his reputation, around the country. It's not just a money thing, in his future at this university, right? Like people would not be coming in. You wouldn't be getting big landings on the O line if sort of the rumor mill was this guy's on the way out or anything else. So I think that's important to look at. Coach Biedenball obviously has a future here and still maintains a reputation that I believe in. And I don't understand, the people that have kind of thought that he should be on the hot seat, but it's a tremendous landing for this OU team, like we've talked about, and just continue to build both sides of the line. And that'll help us as we implement, new backs, new whatever else.
Yeah, I think to kind of round off our portal talk, I had the other guys that are already in the boat. Lloyd Avant from Colorado State. I know there's a lot of people angry about not getting a big fish running back. I mean, I'm going to view him like a Sam Franklin, a guy who can do a little bit in the return game, be there in the running back room, maybe might pop off, maybe won't, but we need depth pieces, and that's just what happens. You can't bring in a big hitter like Caden Durham is not going to come in if he's not expecting he's going to be RB1. And I don't think we can guarantee anyone that with the way our running back room is right now. I think it's an open field of possibilities, and you need to come in with the idea that you can go fight. And then Kenny Ozawalu from UTSA, a guy that we brought in under the radar, and that's a big defensive lineman with a lot of frame to work with, and he's got 3 years of eligibility left. So you got to be excited bringing in guys not just that are instant impact, that have 1 year of eligibility. You got to remember that we have people in the portal that are leaving that are grad chancellors at 1 year eligibility, and we have guys that are leaving that have 2-3 years of eligibility. So we need to bring in guys too, like Dakota Fields from Oregon, like Kenny Ozawalu from UTSA, who have 3 years of eligibility, that can keep on replenishing this roster, because if not, then our high school classes need to get up even higher and higher.
Yeah. And having that first year experience, wherever they're at, immediately gives them a head start over, any freshman you would bring in. So definitely great stuff there. And, I mean, 3 years, that's an eternity in college football. If you get them for all 3, you've done something right, because you've maintained them. They haven't hit the portal again. So that's all good stuff. I certainly think.
Yeah. And now I'm just glued now. I know we got other things to work out. We were really hoping to get Alex Van Summeren from Michigan State, and he committed to USC this evening. That's a huge bummer. I think he would have been a really good guy into our 4 deep interior defensive line. But the guy I'm going to be refreshing is just waiting for Cole Sullivan from Michigan. It seems like that dude's an absolute stud of a middle linebacker. Michigan's doing everything they can to keep him, but he still hasn't announced anything. So it's probably weighing on him. There's probably a part of him that's saying, hey, Venable's defense rocks, and to be an inside linebacker in it is one of the best things ever. And I really will really thrive in that. And there's probably another side of it. There's probably a lot of loyalty and a lot of things that are going on in Michigan. So it's going to be a hard decision for him. But it really showed a lot to me about where Oklahoma feels about him. That the guy that was their backup, Gideon Lampron from Bowling Green, went out and already made his commitment to another school. So I feel still optimistic for this, but that's the guy that I'm just hoping to see drop on my newsfeed any minute now.
Yeah, which would be huge. And I will say probably some weirdness there, given the fact that they play each other next year. Maybe not a ton of oddness, just given how many interconference transfers you have. It doesn't mean as much, I think, but I imagine that has to be somewhat a part of the equation, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, but what it comes down to is you hope that this kid makes the decision that he's going to be the happiest in, and you don't want to go to a school and then feel Trace Ford didn't have it. Trace Ford, didn't have any regrets, but then Oklahoma State fans just destroyed him whenever he came over. I'm sure there's a part of him that's saying I don't want to get destroyed by the Michigan fan base. If you are transferring in this day and age, there are people of every single fan base that are going to absolutely destroy you online. I'm hoping that he can get to the point where he says, I'm going to do what I think is best for me and not what's best for the fandom. And hopefully that decision is still Oklahoma.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Do we want to get into some CFP talk, fellas?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Let's start out with. We're recording this on Wednesday night. Let's start this out with
Tuesday night.
Tuesday. Oh my God. That's the week it's been, folks. Seriously, this is the longest freaking Tuesday ever. Oh God, this week. Yeah, let's kick it off. So, recording it Tuesday night. Episode will be hitting your pod feed on Wednesday evening. So, our very first semifinal is, I believe, is it Indy? Am I right on this? It's
Oh wait. I know you talking. Are you waiting for your
Miami,
bracket to come up, or are you
Fiesta
asking which
Bowl.
one's going to be first?
It is Ole Miss Miami in the Fiesta Bowl. Is going down on Thursday night. Ty, your should be an interesting game. You know, Ole Miss Miami in your backyard, pretty much. This one going down 6:30 p.m. Central. Miami, a 3.5 point favorite, despite being the lower seed against the Rebels. I gotta say, I've been impressed with both of these teams. I thought Ole Miss would had a decent shot to win their game against Georgia. I wasn't giving Miami a ton of, I don't know. I wasn't all in on Miami. I didn't really think they had much of a shot against Ohio State. Maybe not to the same degree that you and Blake did, Ty. Y'all wrote off the Hurricanes big time, and didn't pan out very well.
Yeah, someone had an excellent tweet like a week ago about how college football is just everyone is a fraud that hasn't played anyone, and the system is just determining like the last team standing. So maybe Ohio State hadn't played anyone because really their only real game was Indiana, which they did lose. So who knows? Maybe their performance against Texas should have been more alarming. But yeah, Miami absolutely impressive. I will say it took me a split second to realize you were talking about the location of the game. And I was very confused why you thought that Ole Miss or Miami were in Arizona's backyard. But
Ty, you are a lifelong fan of both of those teams.
No, I'm not. I do not like Ole Miss. And I am I'm pretty anti-Miami as well in general.
I'm pretty sure I've seen you put up the U many times.
Yeah, I like the hype. I like to play it a little bit. But when Bobby and I were talking about this as well, is when I look at the four teams that could possibly win the national championship, I will be happy there is a compelling storyline for anyone but Miami. Miami is just pure evil. Ole Miss, right? Amazing story. Like Kiffin leaves, first outright championship, like everything else. Oregon, first ever championship. I know people would be opposed to that. Like Indiana, first ever championship. Insane story, everything else. But no one in the world should be cheering for Miami to win the championship. So that's the most important takeaway from this one. I hope Ole Miss continues to ride. I think this is a more winnable game. Maybe I'm sticking my hand on the stove again. I think this is a more winnable game for Ole Miss than the Georgia game was. So as long as they can keep their heads about them, stay focused, just the idea of, I should have looked this up if I was going to bring this up on the pod. Jameson, you might know, did Trinidad Chambliss win the FCS or the D2 championship? It's the D2, right? Or like the JUCO championship. He won a championship, a national championship at a lower level. Now he can win it at the D1 level. That would be insane. First ever do it. To get there, not my pick for the Natty, but
D2.
To get there, they have to win this one. Yeah, so dude, imagine someone winning the D2 then D1 championship. There's super cool storylines across every team but Miami. Everyone should be anti-Miami, especially as OU fans.
And D2, keep in mind, that's not the FCS. There's like an entire level between. That's a big leap. So I mean, credit to Trinidad Chambliss. That dude is a baller, man. That performance against Georgia in that back half, he was making
against us.
Unbelievable. Yeah, he was making some unbelievable plays that, really giving me flashbacks to that game in Norman. He's a hell of a player, and I don't know, one, why he wasn't on more Heisman boards, and two,
it's just volume, Bobby.
What?
It's just volume. He didn't have enough volume.
That's a good point. He, didn't start really playing till week 4?
Yeah, because Austin Simmons played in that Tulane game, right? And then Chambliss came in just after.
Something like that. Yeah, it was around there. But so I think that's fair. But
Yeah, because he played in the Mississippi State.
I think when you look back at
And
this season, there's a real good chance that the player you remember most, it's either Fernando Mendoza or Chambliss. And Chambliss, depending on how you finish this thing out, you're going to remember Chambliss.
Yeah, I mean, if you said who would you rather have as a quarterback, and you put every single starting quarterback out there, you put Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza, you put Carson Beck, you put Trinidad Chambliss, you put Dante Moore. Some people are saying could be like the number 2 pick in the draft. I pick Chambliss straight up. I pick him. I pick him as my college quarterback right now over those 3.
I gotta say, Carson Beck in that conversation is the hell of what they're doing in Arlington, Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not just gonna leave him out because
you might as well throw in DJ Lagaway at that point. Just start throwing in.
But it's just like this dude's a playmaker, and this Ole Miss team is so fun to watch, and they've got a lot of heart, and it's really what it comes down to is this game's awesome because you're going to get an offense with so much firepower and so much fun going against a Miami defense that we said for a lot of the season, like Oklahoma is the best defense in the country, but Miami was the other team that I think that you could say, hey, Miami is the best defense in the country. I'd be like, okay, cool. I agree. Just because the playmakers that they have there, like Ruben Bain is unbelievable. What he was doing last week to Ohio State was just, it made Ohio State offensive linemen look silly. And I get that this isn't the same offensive line that Ohio State's had in years past, but it just shows you that whenever you have an edge rusher or interior defensive lineman that can go out there and just destroy games, that's why these guys end up being some of the best paid players in NFL. And it really is helpful too whenever it's not just you by yourself. And Akeem Mesidor is also so good too. It is a 2-headed monster there in Miami that I don't care what their offense will look like in this game. Mississippi will put up points, but I know Miami's going to go out there and make big plays on defense that will give their Miami's offense enough opportunity to win this game and handily too.
Yeah, Miami absolutely has, as we've seen, that is one of the most physical, ferocious defenses. You'll see in the country. SEC be damned. That is a damn good team.
Mm-hmm.
And Ole Miss, like it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. And don't get into the mistakes that Ohio State did. Don't turn the ball over. Don't get in a hole, or else you're screwed. Because it is hard sledding to try to dig yourself out of a hole against that Miami defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jamie, I see you in the chat. What's up? My girl Jamie, talking about Chambliss and his future too, which is a big talking point right now. He's trying to apply for 1 extra year and coming back, and he's got everything lined up to go back to Ole Miss. I think the reason for his medical redshirt they're trying to get is like strep throat or something like that, which is crazy. The language does not seem optimistic that he's going to get a year, but I'm sure there's a lot of money. A lot of money and a lot of politics that are going into this that are going to try to push him into every way to get him to come back. So I wouldn't count anything out in college football because we can say that the NCAA is started to become more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like more clean. I doubt it. I bet you they could be pushed in any direction to allow a guy like Trinidad Chambliss to come back.
Yeah. It's a situation where everything's a mess right now, so screw it. Let him come back. Just one more year, whatever.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, let Owen Heineke come back, please. Like, come on, what are we doing?
Yeah, his makes sense. Like, come
agreed.
on.
Yeah.
Like a couple games of lacrosse. Like, come on, guys, please. But that's just the part where they're gonna be like, sorry, shouldn't have played lacrosse.
Lacrosse is basically that. I mean, that's just basically like. Like if you tried to ding Baker Mayfield for playing intramurals. I know it's an official NCAA sport. Whatever. Like, come on.
Man, that is so Oklahoma totally different. Of you.
What's that?
That's so Oklahoma of you.
I know you see a lot more of lacrosse out there. I get it, but that's a going pro in something other than sport, if you know what I mean. Football's different.
I mean, hey, I mean, what, Pat Spencer, right? Wasn't he a lacrosse player and now he's in the NBA?
That's
Or is
true.
it Cam Spencer? Which one? One of the Spencer guys.
Last name Pod.
Yeah.
Well, it's their brothers, so I don't know which one. I think it
was Pat. I think it was Pat.
Yeah, it is Pat.
Beverly?
But let's make our picks on this. So Miami 3.5 points versus Mississippi. I'm taking Miami. I'm taking Miami 3.5 here. I think Mississippi's offense is going to be a lot of fun, and they're going to make a lot of great plays. But if you come down to saying, is it defense or offense? I'm going to pick the defense. And I want to say that all of this coaching hoopla that has gone on this past week won't matter to Ole Miss. They'll go out there and make plays if they need to, but it's going to matter just a little bit. And those tiny little things add up whenever you play big games in the semis. So I think Miami advances to the championship.
I think it's a really tricky one. It's momentum on momentum for sure. Both of these teams have looked really, really good in their pretty good in their first two goes. I'm going to go Ole Miss. They're giving me a bit of like this team of destiny vibe. I think Chambliss is the better player between him and Beck. And, you know, while I think both of them, if I recall correctly, have decent, I feel like Beck is more. It's tricky because I feel like Miami's defense is more likely to make Chambliss turn the ball over, but Beck is more likely to make mistakes and screw it up himself. And I'm just going to trend Chambliss making the big plays and the big moments and them getting to the national championship. This is truly a coin toss to me. So I'm going to go Ole Miss and a 3.5. This is going to be a banger. I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, this is one where you can just look at the advanced metrics and they tell you everything you need to know. This is a coaching matchup between Mario Cristobal and Pete Golding. We're in the postseason. We're in the playoffs. We're talking about who has the better chance of winning the national championship. Pete Golding coached under Nick Saban for 4 years, Mario Cristobal for 3 years. Give me Ole Miss +3. One more year of exposure to Nick Saban, the greatest to do it in modern times, outside of Bob Stoops. Give me Ole Miss and Pete Golding to take the dub. Pete Golding will continue in the playoff with his real haircut that looks like one of those visors with fake hair under it. It's like a gag gift at the beach.
That's funny. Yeah, very interesting. All Saban assistants in the semifinal. And we're moving on to another one. It's a rematch of a Big Ten game earlier this season. A game that at the time I had labeled, I think I said something to the effect of Indiana being a Chrysler 300 and Oregon being a Phantom. Well, I was very, very wrong. I clearly don't know my cars very well because Indiana is for real. They absolutely demolished Alabama in the Rose Bowl, completely cleaned their clock. It was a total, like just a beatdown front to back. And now they're playing a team that, you know, I think this game against Oregon in Austin earlier was kind of the moment they declared themselves to be legit. And they've proven it, you know, several other times throughout this year. But, you know, here it is. One more win, and you're in the national championship for the losingest program in college football. It's truly unreal. So Indiana, Oregon going on in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia. So this one taking place on Friday. Jameson, what are your thoughts on Indiana? Just what a team.
Yeah.
What a performance.
This is a big argument against my, hey, big time players make big time plays. Culture's a little bit overrated. That's wrong. That's wrong here with Indiana, because what they've done there, coming together, game planning, their defense is so cohesive. Their offense is so well-rounded. It opens up everything. You know, their run game looked so damn good versus Alabama, and that just allowed Fernando Mendoza just to do everything so easily. This dude threw 2 incompletions last game. Like, this was a cakewalk for Mendoza to go through that game. And it just makes me look at a team like that And like, oh, do they have the athletes that Oregon has? No. But I think that whenever you have a team humming like this, unless someone has been in the lab scouting them and has found their ultimate weakness and just cracks them, which we haven't seen the whole season, I think Oregon's toast too. Oregon has shown cracks this season, and versus Texas Tech, yeah, their defense really showed out, but their offense just really left me a lot like wishing for more. And I think Indiana could get out to a double-digit lead, and you might hear some smacks back from Oregon, but I think Indiana could win this game by 2 scores.
Yeah, go ahead, Ty. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, look, I love Oregon. I will be cheering for Oregon in this one. There's no punishment or reward on this game. We've ended the weekend spread, but I don't know that I agree. This is a wild take. This is not trying to be a bit. I don't know that I agree with Jameson that Oregon has more talent. I think Oregon has more talent when you look at like the star power and everything else. But you guys have to remember Kirk Cignetti, and I did a bit about Nick Saban earlier, but Sig, when he came on Alabama's staff, was Nick Saban's first choice as a recruiting coordinator. Sig famously had to kind of pull some strings and finagle his way in and argue with people to get Mark Ingram at Alabama, who was a highly touted recruit, but people weren't sure if he was the right fit. First Heisman in Alabama history. Like Sig was solely responsible for guys like Julio Jones, Dante Hightower, like so many of those tremendous names. Like Sig knows talent. I think better than 247 on three. Obviously didn't exist back in the day, but like I don't know that even if the stars aren't there, right? Like Sig is a guy that has shown for decades that he finds diamonds in the rough. And obviously, I talked about some Bama guys that were just highly touted recruits in general, but he finds those diamonds in the rough. He found the reason that Cal's offense was good in Fernando Mendoza, and then OU obviously got bamboozled by a dude who was from that same offense who wasn't good. But we're not going to talk about that right now. But I think if I'm picking this game, if I had punishment on it, if I had money on it, you got to go Indiana, and not just because they won the game earlier in the season. Obviously, in the postseason, that has burned many people. It burned me. Burned a lot of people on the Bama. Burned a lot of people on Georgia Ole Miss. So maybe you say the trend in the playoff is that it goes the other way because that's how it's gone in a couple other games. But to use a secession reference, I just don't know that Dan Lanning is a serious person. He's very entertaining. He's very good at smoking teams that come in, like Colorado a couple years ago, but Oregon has struggled. Oregon is a defensive team, but Oregon has struggled, and Sig is a serious person, the most serious person, as is Fernando Mendoza in a completely different way. And I just feel like this is like, to use an academic example, this is two really smart kids, one that never studies and is just kind of running on vibes and thinks they can make it either way in Oregon. And then Indiana is like the also academically talented kid that spends all of their time studying and preparing. And it's like, who's going to get a better
right there?
Who's going to get a better score on the test? It's Indiana. So for me, I gotta ride with the hosers, whatever they're called. Give me Sig, give me Fernando Mendoza. I need more Fernando Mendoza post game interviews.
Do you?
Dude is electric. He is electric. He is. I love it. I can't get enough of it. As much as I would love for Oregon to win the national championship, I don't think it's reasonable. And again, when I watch this game later in the week, I will be cheering for Oregon. But I gotta be a impartial advisor to the beloved viewers and listeners, and I think Indy is the clear choice. But I'm going down with the ship. I'm busting out my violin, and I'm going down with the Titanic.
Indiana's just way too dynamic on both sides of the ball. They're cohesive. They know exactly what they're doing, and They're being run by an absolute madman. What Kurt Cinetti has done is nothing short of one of the greatest turnarounds in college football history. It's him and Snyder. That's it. Those two are without a doubt at the top of that in terms of, turning around a program in short order. And they have the talent to do it. I'm past the point of doubting Indiana at this point. They've proven me wrong at every single juncture, and I think they're obviously familiar with this Oregon team, having played them earlier this year. They beat them in a way tougher environment in Eugene versus neutral site, and I don't see a lot of flaws with Indiana, which is crazy, but I feel like Indiana is the better team, more complete team, and I think they get it done and advance to the national championship. But what a performance! I gotta give it up to Mendoza. I know the interviews can be a little cringy at times. I just love how excited he was for the offensive line and how he kept referring to him as his hoggies. Just very funny. I don't know. That's very funny.
I like hoggies.
He is pure in heart. There's one thing I wanted to mention too, real quick. Bobby, I'll let you continue to take it. But when it comes to Sig, you just have to continue to give him his flowers. And I don't want to diminish what Bob Chesney did, but JMU being in the playoff this year is at least in part due to Sig and what he did there. Obviously, he left 2 years ago, but he set JMU on the path. It's insane what he's able. If people say it can't be done in the portal and NIL era, and he has proven them wrong for years now, which is super cool to see.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where a lot of people have been like, oh well, Sig is just proving it wrong that it doesn't take long to switch it around. Maybe maybe that might be true, but I don't think everyone's Kurt Cinetti. What he's done is shockingly amazing.
Yeah, and this is just a perfect storm for him too. Everything is lined up. Great culture. Get a guy like Mendoza transferring in. This is not the same Mendoza or not the same kind of quarterback that we're seeing in the transfer portals right now, getting $5+ million. It's different, and it's just, this is great. As an Indiana fan, you must be on cloud nine.
Yeah, I mean seriously, people forget how bad Indiana has been historically. Just truly awful. Watching the Rose Bowl and seeing them pop up is their last bowl win was the Copper Bowl in the 90s. So it just that is a historically stake bit program. So I'm pumped for him. I'm happy for him, and I don't know. It'd be pretty cool to see him do it. It'd be cool for Mendoza too to come back to Miami on that end. But I just hope it's not an Indiana versus. I just hope Miami doesn't make it back.
It's going to, Bobby.
I know. As is tradition, that it's the most Miami thing possible for them to be in a national championship in their home stadium. Look at their records throughout the years, and that is what always happens. They would always get in the Orange Bowl, and they always had home field. And it just makes me sick that that's bouncing their way again.
Yeah, people picking Ole Miss, I don't mean to make decisions and picks based off the past, because I think that is a huge hit that we get against us as college football fans, that we always look to the past too much. But there's just something there, Bobby. The same thing with the Sugar Bowl and LSU. I can't pick against that either. Yeah. It just makes too much sense. Miami money line that's the move.
Yeah, it's just a bad
Miami money line with Indiana money line parlay, and you can get yourself plus. Yeah. I'm sure plus money that way.
There you go.
Maybe. Let's see.
Now, how do you guys feel about the playoff format with these, the whole quarterfinal thing? I don't mean to derail us, and it's probably a weird place to put this conversation. Those quarterfinals got to be on campus.
Yeah, it's plus 150 odds if you parlayed those two money lines together. I like that pick. That is a pick for me. But yeah, I agree, Bobby. I think that it's just too many fans in today's day and age know the amount of resource it takes to travel to get somewhere, the amount of money you have to spend to get on a flight, get a hotel room, all the logistics of travel, take off work. and it's just the production's so good that it's just so easy to stay at home. But if it's right in your backyard, you're going to get a lot better of an environment. And it's just these games in the quarterfinals and semifinals, teams are going to be like, well, our fans are going to be like, well, I'll just wait. I'll wait for it and wait to the big game. And it just kind of just takes a lot from the environment, and it doesn't feel as fun. So I think that needs to change for sure.
Yeah.
I think.
Go ahead, Ty.
I was going to say, I think I don't know how you would structure this like perfectly, but I think some of the bowls maybe would throw a fit about this. But perfect worlds, it almost seems like, because there's been so many discussions about the bye week and everything else. I do think maybe you find a way to turn the top four reward from a bye week to the top four are the ones that get an on-campus game. And then, maybe flip the script and play the bowls, I guess, earlier. But I don't know. I don't know how you structure it.
That'd be a shame because those games aren't going to be as good.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you got to do.
I still like the idea that, like, I don't know. There's so many different ways to restructure it. I feel like this system that we have now isn't terrible if people just see it for what it is and get used to it. Like, it's the idea of like deserving teams is just kind of foolish. Like, they don't have a real chance. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Now that I think about it, it's not going to change if we keep it at 12, just because it's money.
It's
just too much money.
It is sad that like the top four teams lose out on that environment. Like, there's been so many discussions about, the top four teams kind of do get a more raw deal, right? Like, the university makes less money, the towns make less money. I don't think the bye week thing is like legitimate criticism. I think that's just shitty coaching, pardon my French. Like, it's an extra bye week should not be what destroys your team. as much as people want to point to that, like, I understand it's holiday season, it's college students or whatever else. You just got to have better coaches. Like, I don't think Nick Saban teams are getting blown out. I don't think Barry Switzer teams are getting blown out if they had a bye week. Like, pick your great coach from your school of the past. Those teams are probably not getting smoked if they had a bye week. For example, Kirk Cignetti and his team. So,
yeah, and I mean, my thing with it, I think there is an edge to not to that level of layoff, and it's not just a bye week; it's an extra 10 days in between on top of the bye week. There's just a lot to it. It throws you off your rhythm. But more importantly, it's about the environment. The Orange Bowl was an absolute sham. That was a disaster. And if you're the Orange Bowl, I think you probably don't want that in the first place. I know it's a playoff game, whatever, but if it was just a normal bowl game and you put, let's say, BYU, Georgia Tech there instead and have that fill up, I think they would rather have that for the ticket sales. I think it still would have been an interesting game. So I think the way you do it, I think you move the entire season up 1 week. Week 0 essentially acts as week 1. And you just play the playoffs a little bit tighter and you try to aim the semifinals. If you can find a way to aim the semifinals on New Year's Day and rotate those out a little bit more. I feel like it's not a perfect solution, but at the end of the day, college football should be about the colleges. It should be about the campuses. It should be about the students. And if it upsets a couple rich people in Pasadena and Miami and New Orleans, those bowl committees, they shouldn't run the sport anymore. And do they have a place? Yes. But they shouldn't be the ones dictating how the sport is decided, how the sport is played. Because at the end of the day, if I'm a Texas Tech fan, I'm sick to my stomach that we had the best season ever, this awesome moment, and instead of hosting a game in Lubbock, we played in front of a crappy Dolphins stadium crowd. And I don't know, if you look at it, this kind of sounds crazy. I think you would trade the OU experience for that. What OU got at home, even though they lost to Alabama, it's better than flying out to Miami just to get blown out in an empty stadium. Like that's not a good reward. I don't think that's very solid.
Yep. No matter what happens, I don't think that it's a perfect answer. People are going to postulate for a perfect answer for playoffs, environments, all this stuff. I think that we just I think Ty made an like a little hint to this. We just got to be happy with what we got.
Yeah, fair. But I mean, where's the fun in talking about just being happy with what you got? You know, this is entertainment, right?
I think we do a bubble. I think we take everyone out to Vegas and we just do a bubble environment. It works for softball.
Lord.
Well, they're not in a bubble, but it works for the stickball sports.
UNLV becomes an absolute powerhouse of a program if we do
essentially
that.
Just make it the Final Four, but
they got Dan Mullen.
That'd suck.
Oh man, and a really good quarterback there too. So I believe in them.
There you go. But anyways, that's all we have for this pod, I believe. We'll be back to talk about the national championship between the winner of the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl here in a bit. So, guys, any final words before we wrap this thing up?
I just remember that we got so lucky as fans of college football that 3 of the 4 evil teams, Ohio State, Bama, and Georgia, lost last week. So we got one more evil team to knock out. So hopefully Miami loses.
There you go. All right. Hope you all have a good rest of your week and enjoy the semifinals. And we'll be back to talk some more Sooner football, some more college football. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Boomer Sooner.